Hi, this is Scott Bogren,
And I'm Rich Sampson.
and we are the team here at CTA that puts together Rail Magazine, and we are happy to have a video that is discussing our 34th edition of Rail Magazine, a magazine that focuses on streetcars and the real growing streetcar trend around the United States. We tried to have a little bit of commentary, discussion, overview of the streetcar trend at the outset of this edition of Rail, where we discuss not only the specific components of streetcars, routes, and all that, but more importantly, why cities are increasingly looking to add a streetcar component into their broader transit framework and in a broader even rail framework, and also looking at places where streetcars are that first movement towards rebuilding or reviving a rail system. And one of the main components we found in looking at a wide variety of communities is that what they're looking at for streetcars is not just ridership. It's economic development in and around the lines. It's increased land values and tax valuations. And just as importantly, it's the ability to attract younger, the technology savvy, younger professionals into downtown urban cores where studies are telling us these folks want to live, but one of the attractions is good, cost-effective, from their perspective in terms of fares and such, transit, and streetcars really fit that bill. So we organized the issue in a certain way, and Rich is going to take us through kind of some of the factors in which around which we organized this edition of Rail.
Yeah, that's right, Scott. We kind of grouped our 8 profiles. We have a few more than usual. They're kind of differing lengths and focuses, but we grouped them into 4 areas: planning, funding, constructing, and operating, to kind of tell the story of how communities go through the process of planning and designing and implementing streetcar systems. In the planning stage, we look at Los Angeles and Boise, Idaho, kind of moving through the paths of getting plans organized, building support. At the funding stage, we look at San Antonio and Oklahoma City, getting together some long-term planning efforts that kind of coalesce around different investments the cities are making elsewhere in their downtown or neighborhood districts. Constructing, we look at a couple systems that are actually laying down rails, buying vehicles, putting up stops, that kind of thing. We're just a few miles from where we're sitting right now. The first line in Washington, D.C. will be on H Street, and we spent a little time talking about the DC streetcar network that might ultimately reach up to 37 miles, being one of the largest systems in the nation, and also in Kansas City, where they're dealing with a lot of political inertia to try and get the first line streetcar line in Kansas City reestablished, and they've had some trouble getting high-capacity transit projects moving forward there. So Scott's article kind of goes through the very detailed minutia of how that process is unfolding. And then we take a look at a few systems that have been established for a long time, more than 100 years in both these cases, in Newark, New Jersey, and San Francisco. Their old streetcar system actually never left. Usually part of the story we tell here at Rail Magazine is how a city lost its streetcar network and is gradually rebuilding it through light rail or streetcar or commuter rail modes. These cities, it never left, and they've expanded upon it, they've modernized it. So there's some interesting historical elements in those 2 places as well. So kind of give you a good breadth of how streetcar projects kind of come to fruition.
And it really is amazing how quickly in the last 20 years streetcars and various streetcar systems have moved back into the forefront of urban planning and transit planning, certainly, and not just in the traditional communities that you would expect to see those types of transit investments, but in places like San Antonio and Oklahoma City and Boise, Idaho, non-traditional, heavy-duty transit communities that see the value of a streetcar in circulating people through communities and more importantly, I think, see the economic development opportunities that those bring. We're really excited about this edition. We think we've got as Rich used, a wide breadth of coverage of streetcars around the country, and we really hope that you enjoy our 34th edition of Rail Magazine. And as always, we really invite your feedback. Did we miss a system? Is there one that you'd like to see us feature in the future? Are there topics or thematic areas that you'd like to see Rail Magazine focus on? You can let us know with a simple email to either Rich, who is the editor of Rail Magazine. I serve as the editor-in-chief of the publication. Either of us would be happy to have that kind of input, and I'll make sure that our email addresses show up here on the screen at the end of this video. So thanks for taking the time to watch the video.
And I just encourage you to, if you don't follow us, Rail Magazine on Twitter yet, @RailMag on Twitter is where you can find us.
Yep, that's the feed. So thanks again, and enjoy the edition, and we hope to be hearing from you soon.